just for clarity, I'm likening or using Epstein Island as the symbol for the emergency state because we only known this as to be a lot of gumption to make you want to question where the fucking power comes from. And the reason why I know that Cardano will probably fail is because it is the Jed breaking the adult child of addiction out of the ACA baby stare. Because the reason they're staring is because you were distracted. There was something that you were doing, like some kind of work that you're doing if you're from Atlantis. And Atlantis, Tartaria, right? Lemuria and all that shit. Because you're like before that, the creative wisdom in the universe might have decided to be a lemur and or other organisms that our consciousness was spun off of. We're able to do all of the jobs in nature, whereas animals do one job in nature, and as well, they teach us religious conviction. It has to do with keeping up with making tidings for each time that you contract the energy from another organism. You have to make a figurine carving, wood carving of in the likeness of that animal that we killed, and we can't keep up with it anymore. Mass farming. That's how I can see whether or not it's a brownstone or a honeypot too. Like I just contracted the ability to see that there's a honeypot situation because I'm likening the emergency state powers to an act that can renew the powers of what's it called? That they call tools every time, Pro Tools. We don't have the tools. They say we need the tools to be able to, you know what I'm talking about? The tools. Those tools that they need to employ to be able to restore people's lives and give people their life back, kind of thing. And then it's always a consideration of some like a focus group or a PR firm to tell you, instead of letting on to the obvious reasons why a decision was made. And I'm not mad about that decision. I'm not trying to overturn it, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. And of course you don't need me to say, because you already know what I'm talking about. But if I go harping on about a politician, that's not really content creation. It's what's really good is content creation, so it can't be the same category. Fear is the only thing that can ruin the co-reactive response to phenomenon, usually brought on by an impulse that where you had the opportunity to be quiet, to not say anything. Could be, and it's like if you didn't have impulse, then you can be careful enough to choose a hustle that fits you rather than one that you're maybe not allowed to get off of. It could be just that quick, just that fast, and just that we miss out on easy ways to get to the bag and end up biting off more than we can chew in an elaborate smear campaign against whoever it is that's in the way of the transhumanists. And don't think that because they're working on the secret of the key of immortality, that they can't get you sick. You know what I mean? Like, they can make you sick as a dog. Even sometimes just by looking at them, if they can't throw out the first pitch, then it becomes their whole life. You know, like, since they're not gonna ride 6 wide horses, and they're not gonna write poetry, and they're not gonna fuck a bitch, and they're not gonna come up with any sort of like feat of accolade, then they become the symbol for all that what ails, all what ails. Like a virulent aspect of society that encourages people to hide in the only place where the pathology could infect the staff, you know, if you want to say, you know, quote unquote, the staff, like, because I'm quoting myself, right? The only place the pathology can escape when it breaches the control parameters of an experiment, in order to not have to dress down or the experiment under a new purpose. It goes into the staff, and the staff becomes the pathology and part of the experiment, right? It's ongoing. So there's still information, data being collected. It's still a good experiment. It was just that you're part of the precursor to the culture that they really wanted to access. That was, okay, so they, like, yeah, it's a new, what's it called? It's an advancing the stages of entropy. So now we have a much more serious problem, where it looks like you're holding out well. It looks like you're doing pretty good, but it's only what could be expected of you. You know what I mean? It's only what could be expected of you, because you're going to die. The only reason you're going to die is because we pay taxes and tithing and tribute to inferior technology, which is not manifest. It's more like self-impregnation. And a perspective is a delivery system. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Delivery systems are improved based on whether or not how intrusive they are or not. Then to work out the delivery system to the point where it is not intrusive at all. You can stop short and you come up with a cigarette, right? Unassuming, innocent, clean, pure, a delivery system like a straw. You know, it's as simple as having a straw to drink, right? And you get it through the delivery system, and it's not. It doesn't look like you're trying to pack DMT up your nose cavity. You know what I mean? Like they used to before they came up with ayahuasca or something. You know, so is that delivery system intrusive? Yeah, it is. It just doesn't look like it. So they stopped at some point in time. You know what I mean? Before they got the perspective. Otherwise, you're already holding the chemicals. You know, the intrusion happens through the carcinogen and all that shit, right? But it's unassuming because the delivery system is simple and innocent as a clean white wrapped like a, you know what I mean, with a filter. So it's like, you know, it looks like it takes out the bad stuff and you just only get the good stuff, right? But if you want to really go further, right, you have to stop at the place where you want to smoke. And then, you know what I mean, or you don't want to smoke, and then you can quit. You can't quit until you want to. And this is the real purpose of the Djed, is to reassociate emotions with certain colors. And colors are feelings and reverberation, and association with healing to green, or with mellow to yellow and shit like that. Because when you're under indoctrination and trauma and whatever, battlefield and shit, you don't love your superiors. Maybe you hate them, but you know what I'm saying? They have to be what they are because of this reason or that reason. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a sense of cohesion or something like that. So like certain daydreamers and quality of certain characteristics in people cannot be, it's not their time or their place, and they have to be suppressed. So you won't like me, but you'll follow my orders and yada yada and shit like this, right? And then if if that guy gets killed and you go back home, right, then you might have great respect for them, you know what I mean? But they were never your friend. It was never my friend. That's a huge mistake to make, right? To assume, right? It's not what it do. They just made sure you got home. They didn't make sure everybody got home alive. You know, their duty was to win the outcome. So if somebody, by winning the outcome means that somebody can go home, then they're responsible for getting you home, even if everybody else got killed. They also have to be more scary than the enemy that's on the other side of the hill, because I already tried to see if it was possible to become like impervious to the tip of a knife before, you know? You basically have to point it at your chest and try to push, you know? And if you're invincible, then, you know what I mean, it won't hurt, basically. You won't have to be able to stop, because it won't even compel you to stop. You'll be full of the faith, right? Now, here's the part where it gets weird. Because mentalism there's a place where you could be in mentalism that you wouldn't be able to let's say, like if say you raise your hand, and if I postulate a certain undertone or something, maybe you'll want to move your hand down, but you can't, and for some reason you have to leave it up, right? So there's going to be the circumstances for which you might be come possessed by a deity that like something like a dope that comes from plants or something like that, where you develop that skin that can't be penetrated as much as you're pushing it in. This is a side effect of entheogens on the collective conscious. And it's a trick. It's a trick. It's tomfoolery. It's a tomfoolery, but it works though. Charlatan magic is relevant, so maybe I thought that's the point, when everybody in the community that's not a shaman, that's on some goofy shit, right? They can LARP, right? You can LARP. So, if you can LARP, sooner or later you believe it. The mind is that powerful. So, not that you want to live with these people or join them, or that you need as a crucible to challenge yourself to see if you can do it. It has nothing to do with any of that, because you'll probably stab yourself in the lung if you attempt. Hold on a second. Let me get off of this shit. I gotta see what the fuck I'm talking about. Because I know that this happened. What I'm trying to say is not the point. It's like, it's National Geographic, right? Whether or not they are all charlatans, right? It's still relevant, because it's mentalism. Charlatans they have to get to that point where it's like auto transcription might have been a ruse and a con job, but nevertheless it still entertained the queen. Like, the queen wanted to see more of it, even though it might be a con. But in order to keep it going, the participants of the con had to come up with parameter to explain how the auto transcription is achievable, and maybe that could be something such as like swapping wives, or you don't know if I'm just trying to con you and be with your wife. I might be trying to just lay with your wife, but you see what I'm saying? It is more important to keep the con going with the queen, because she'll fucking take your head off, right? So that's a trip. As many times as you save the world, 007, you're always one step away from an indictment. And it's the death of 007 is going to be what's significant, right? You know, because then we don't have a secret agent anymore. You don't have that ace up your sleeve anymore. He's dead. 007 died in a movie, right? But I'm talking about is the origin of the original 007 is, what's his name? Edward Kelly and one other dude, because I forget. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. It's the premise for Tavistock MI6 too. Rock and Roll Revolution, Laurel Canyon. It just rolls on and on and on. Is Monarch Butterfly, you know, To Behold a Pale Horse, and the fucking. I'm not saying it's a great book. I'm just saying. I'm not saying the Beatles are a great band. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? It's mass media manipulation and inducing a hysteria. Beatlemania or something. However that happens, I'm not sure. I don't understand it, but I'm sure that precludes government powers trying to renew an emergency state. But because it's beatniks, or because it's something I like, or you know what I mean, doesn't mean that it can't have its origin in Tavistock or something like that. You know what I mean? You have to. Oh, I know why I have to quit this video. Because I was going to go a different direction. I was trying to go down a different path in explaining stuff, and I assassinated the directive goal of trying to achieve by making this video. Does that make sense?